Hello everyone, it's Samar here and welcome to my new series Learning History. In this series, we will be learning about history and its importance and significance in our life. The first video that I'm uploading on the same is Medieval Europe, Rise of Christianity. This explores medieval Europe, its socio-political systems, the rise and spread of the Roman Empire, the decline of the Roman Empire, and Christianity. Anyways, grab a pen, grab a notebook, maybe take down a few notes, and let's get started. When I say the word medieval ages, what do you think of? Do you think of men fighting in rings? Do you think of gladiator battles? Do you think of people riding on horses? Did you think about cultural changes? If you thought about any of that, well, I'm happy to inform you, you are correct. The term medieval is associated with the Middle Ages. The medieval age is the period between ancient and modern times. However, the term doesn't include exactly the same years or century in the history in all parts of the world. In Europe, the medieval age extends roughly between the 7th century to about the 16th century. In India, however, it's from the 8th to the 18th century. It's further divided into the early medieval period, which is the 8th to the 13th century, and the later medieval period, the 13th to the 18th century. A number of changes took place during the medieval period in terms of society, religion, economy, language, and culture. This transition from the ancient period to the medieval period wasn't sudden. It happened gradually over a period of time. During the medieval period, many social and economical and political changes took place all over the world. There was an emergence of a new type of society and a new system of government in Western Europe. The new order that slowly emerged is called feudalism. In the feudal society, the most powerful were the chiefs. The chiefs, with their military, dominated large areas of lands and also played a vital part in government. The king was just like one of the most powerful feudal chiefs. The economical life under this system was predominantly rural, and the main division in society was between peasants who worked on the land and the feudal lords who either got a share of the peasants' produce or had peasants work on their lands without any payments. Most of the produce was consumed locally. Towns and trades played very little role in the life of people. However, in other parts of the world, the changes that took place in the social and economical life of the people weren't so marked. As an example, in some parts of the world, the trades and towns didn't decline as they did in Europe. Similarly, the institutions and monasteries such as Cambridge and Oxford that developed in Europe under feudalism didn't generally exist elsewhere. However, in spite of the differences, there were many similarities. The exploitation of peasantries were common, but in some societies it took the form of serfdom. Serf being a peasant who was tied to his lord's estate and couldn't leave without his permission. But however, in other places such as India, the zamindars and the nobility took a large portion of the produce. However, the Indian peasant status was not that of a serf. But as I had mentioned about gladiator fights earlier, most of them were slaves or condemned prisoners. The triumphant ones were major celebrities. They would appear in paintings, walls, etc. Think about your popular sports stars from today. Gladiator spectacles were basically movies and sports matches combined all in one. Isn't that interesting? Now, I want you to look at the flag that you see on screen. It's the flag of Palestine. But do you ever wonder how Palestine got its name? Its original name was actually Judea. However, the siege of Jerusalem, which occurred during Pompey the Great's campaign in the year 63 BCE, conquered this area of Palestine. However, Pompey the Great wanted to convert them, the people of Palestine, into their religion. So they had renamed the place Syria Palestina. Syria usually is meant to like represent Assur and Assyria, a geographical region which was known to them at the time. However, but you might be wondering, hey, isn't Syria a country? I mean, yeah, Syria is the main a country in the Levant area, one of the main, I can say. However, earlier back in the day, Syria used to refer to the entire area of the Levant, and Palestina, it took the name of the Philistines. The Philistines were a group of people who were ancient enemies of Jews. That's why, to reduce their link to Judaism, they had renamed the place Syria Palestina. It spelled the end of Jewish independence. The siege continued for 3 months. Only a dozen Roman troops were killed, but 12,000 Jews were killed in the war. Now, I'd like you to look at the symbol you see. As you can see, it is a cross. Which religion is the cross associated with? If you said Christianity, congratulations, you are correct. During the medieval ages, two major religions, which are the top two most popular religions in the world even today, were formed. They had important and far-reaching consequences. They shaped the political, cultural, and economic activities of the period. These two religions are Christianity and Islam. Christianity was founded by Jesus Christ, and his followers were known as Christians. Fun fact, did you know the first ever church in India was actually built in Kerala? Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn king. You might be wondering, who is the newborn king being referred to? The newborn king is the Messiah of Christianity. The Messiah is the promised deliverer of the Jewish nation prophesied in the Bible. This Messiah is Jesus Christ. He was born in the city of Bethlehem, a small village of Jerusalem. His father, Joseph, and mother, Mary, were Jews. Joseph was a carpenter. It is said that the angel visited Mary before his birth and told her that she was blessed and her son would be blessed too. Jesus spent his early life following his father's profession as a carpenter. However, at the age of 30, he went about preaching his message. He spoke in a simple language and quickly he had a large following. He also came to be known as a great healer. Jesus emphasized on belief in one God and gave immense importance to love, brotherhood, and compassion. He fearlessly criticized all harmful activities and evils. This made the rich and powerful among the Romans his enemies. They complained to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Syria Palestina, which yes, did include Jerusalem at the time. They accused Jesus of calling himself the King of Jews and thus encouraging people to rebel against Roman rulers. Jesus was arrested and crucified on the cross. The cross, that is why the cross is a famous symbol and sacred symbol of the Christian. Good Friday is believed to be the day that Jesus was crucified. In the world, this day is signified by many prayers, stations of the cross, donation of alms, and even fasting by some. It occurs on the Friday after the paschal full moon. The paschal full moon is the first full moon that occurs of the northern hemisphere after the spring equinox, also known as March 21st. The Sunday after the paschal full moon is known as Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday is the day on which Jesus is supposed to be resurrected from heaven back into earth for a given number of days. On Easter, a main tradition which is followed is egg hunts. Egg hunts represent new life and resurrection. Easter eggs is a thing that many of you might have heard of. You might know that the eggs had different colors, but did you know back in early ages the Easter eggs were just red? Red is because of Jesus' blood which he used to pay for humanity's sins. Sabbath and Hanukkah are 2 days which are celebrated with great auspiciousness in Christianity. Sabbath is a day of worship. For Christians, Sabbath is usually Sunday where they go to a church and pray. Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, is a Jewish and Christian holiday celebrated for 8 days from 25th Kislev to 2nd or 3rd Tevet. Kislev is the ninth month of the Hebrew calendar. However, if Kislev is for 29 days instead of its usual 30, the last day of Hanukkah is 3rd Tevet. But usually it's for 30 days, so most of the time Hanukkah ends on 2nd Tevet. Hanukkah commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem in the 2nd century BC. It celebrates the Jewish people's victory over the Greek and Syrian oppressors during the Maccabean revolt and the miracle of the oil that miraculously helped a candle burn for 8 days, just enough for the Jews to get a new oil supply. Those 8 days are the reason why Hanukkah lasts for 8 days. Christmas. We've all heard of it and we all love it. Christmas, usually celebrated on 25th December, is the day which Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was born. He was born in a stable of horses, as the inn in which Mary and Joseph should have been there, it was all booked. However, the kind inn owner found a stable where Mary ended up giving birth to the Son of God. However, another reason why people like Christmas is Santa Claus, also known as Saint Peter. The story behind Saint Peter is very impactful. There was a poor family who had a daughter. The daughter needed to go to an institution for our modern day college, but their family was very poor, so they couldn't afford it. So, one of the saints of Christianity, Saint Peter, put a penny every day inside the stocking until the daughter got enough money to go to college. This is also why people write what they want for Christmas in a stocking. Also, the fact that the stocking was kept under a tree also explains the significance of Christmas trees. Jesus appointed 12 disciples, known as apostles, to help him spread the word of Christianity all throughout the world. The 12 original apostles included Peter, Andrew, James, the son of Zebedee, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James, the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus at the end. The four Gospels were written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew and John were the part of the original 12 disciples. Later, Jesus appointed 72 disciples, and in this increased list of 72 disciples, Mark was one of them. However, Luke was influenced to spread the word of Christianity after the death of Jesus. The holy book of the Christians is known as the Bible. The Bible consists of the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament talks about the beginning of the entire world and telling stories of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, the forbidden fruit, etc. However, the New Testament talks about Jesus, his life, and his teachings. They also contain parables. Parables are moral stories which are meant to signify the importance of God and how He is always good and there for you. Parables include the Good Samaritan, the lost sheep, and the lost coin. However, Jesus Christ had many teachings as well. Some of these teachings include that God is one, God is just and benevolent. You should hate the sin committed, not the sinner. We must love God as God loves all of us. We must show sympathy and compassion to all. We should be charitable and help the needy. And most importantly, sinners can repent. After the death of Jesus, his followers, Peter, Paul, and John, zealously spread Christianity in the Roman Empire. However, the Romans followed a polytheistic religion where they worshipped gods such as Jupiter, Neptune, and Venus. Due to this, the Roman rulers felt threatened by the spread of Christianity. In the beginning, the Christians were hated and persecuted by Romans and Roman emperors. They were regarded as dangerous, disloyal, and unpatriotic people. However, this religion gradually became popular. The Edict of Toleration in the year 311 CE by Galerius was issued by the three Roman emperors of Galerius, Constantine, and Licinius. This edict officially ended the persecution of Christians. The Roman emperors Constantine I and Licinius issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity across the whole Roman Empire. Under Theodosius, Christianity became the only religion recognized by the state. Slowly but steadily, Christianity spread all throughout the Roman Empire. Emperor Constantine established Christianity in the Roman Empire. He introduced laws which supported Christian moral teaching. He was also the one who started observing Sunday, also known as Sabbath, as a holy day where people go to church to pray. In the next 200 to 300 years, Christianity spread all throughout Europe. Jesus' disciple, Saint Paul, carried Christ's teaching to various countries such as Greece and Rome. Roman Emperor Constantine embraced Christianity. By the end of the 4th century CE, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. The Christian church became very well organized. The Bishop of St. Peter's Church in Rome came to be known as the representative of Christ on earth. People gave him the name the Pope. The Roman Emperor Constantine established a new capital at Byzantine. Byzantine was chosen in 324 CE primarily due to its strategic location. Its position on the Bosphorus Strait, which was the strait that divided Europe and Asia, made it a natural crossroads for trade and defense. Additionally, the city's natural defenses, including the Golden Horn Harbor and the surrounding water, were also considered advantages. He had renamed the city of Byzantine to Constantinople, named after himself, Constantine. The Byzantine Empire was a huge and flourishing empire which did trade with Asia after the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. The emergence of this new capital led to a rise of trade and commerce. New governing classes arose as the new capital required a new senate. Monetary stability and an expanding population stimulated economic growth. Gradually, Constantinople began to dominate the trade with the East. The decline of the Roman Empire was due to many reasons, a decline that took place over many hundreds of years. The major causes for the fall of the Roman Empire were the following: political corruption, constant wars, fighting among soldiers, slave revolts, etc. Imperialism destroyed the democracy, encouraged slavery, created idle city mobs, political conflicts, and corruptions. Neither agriculture nor industry could thrive on slave labor. Slave revolts became pretty frequent. The western part of the Roman Empire was destroyed by the barbarian invasions. Barbarians were a bunch of tribes from Germany, which were the Goths, the Vandals, and the Franks. However, the eastern part of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, existed until the Turks conquered the Byzantine territories almost a millennia after the fall of the western counterpart. Barbarians invading the Western Roman Empire led to the collapse of the empire. This led to the economy going down. Due to the same, nobles were moving out and they had to gain their own food, which resulted in a lack of education as the nobles didn't have enough money to spend on education. It also had an impact on Latin learning as the spread of Latin halted. Otherwise, places such as Macedonia, etc., would have also had languages similar to Latin. I mean, not Macedonia, but other places like, let's take Serbia for example. Their language looks more like German. Ho- However, it could have been Latin if not for this Roman invasion. As you already know, the capital of the eastern part of the old Roman Empire was Byzantium, also known as Constantinople. This eastern part of the Roman Empire consisted most of Eastern Europe as well as modern day Turkey, Syria, and North Africa, including Egypt. It concluded many of the traditions of the Roman Empire, such as a strong monarchy and a centralized administration. However, in terms of differences between the Catholic Church and the West in terms of belief and rituals, there were many. This empire also created traditions of government and culture, many of which were later imbibed by the Arabs when they overran Syria and Egypt. It acted as a link between the Greco Roman civilization and the Arab world, and it also helped in the revival of Greek learning in the West. It disappeared with the fall of Constantinople at the hand of the Turks in 1453 CE. The fall of Constantinople and the capture of the capital of the Byzantine Empire by an invading army of the Ottoman Turks sent a shockwave throughout Europe. The name of Constantinople was changed to Istanbul, a name which still remains to this day. The capture of Constantinople marked the end of the Roman Empire and the beginning of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman dynasty is named after the first ruler of the Ottoman polity, Osman I. He had descended from a Turkish tribe which had migrated from Central Asia in the wake of the Mongol conquest. The Ottoman Empire is also the reason why, if you look at Turkey's flag, you can see a crescent and star, which was one of the major symbols of Islam. This was proof that Ottoman Empire and later Turkey had followed Islam religion. The Crusades were a set of religious wars between Muslims and Christians between the 11th and 13th centuries. The aim of the Christians was to win back their holy land of Jerusalem from the Ottoman Turks. The impact of the crusade, however, was very significant. The Crusaders, the Christians, came in contact with the advanced Arab and Greek civilizations. They gained knowledge in fields such as science, algebra, art, and architecture. This paved the way for the Renaissance movement in Europe. The Crusades learned the use of gunpowder and guns from the Turk. Trade relations between Europe and Asia grew. New trade routes were explored, and trade improved the economy of Europe. And lastly, the kings received more revenue from the traders in form of taxes. Therefore, kings became more powerful and effectively maintained law and order. If I asked you right now to name two universities in Europe, you would most likely say Oxford and Cambridge. What's common between those two? Yes, they might both be universities and both of them might be in UK, but the common thing that I was looking for is that both of them were monasteries before they became universities. An important development in the period of the medieval ages in Europe were the building of monasteries, which was an institution where monks lived. They lived there and worked for the welfare of the human race and devoted their entire life to prayers. They helped the poor and aided the pilgrims. They cleared the lands, developed the art of animal husbandry, as well as skills of craftsmanship, and preserved the ancient classics and manuscripts. The art of stained glass paintings, wood cutting, and murals flourished in the monasteries. They founded schools, and they also provided incentives to scholars to study and write. They provided shelter to travelers and protection to widows and orphans. They built hospitals and provided every help to the needy and poor. The nuns also served the society as teachers and preachers. However, some of the monasteries that became exceptionally wealthy began to act like feudal lords. which caused the Renaissance, which we will study later on. The helpful work that monasteries used to do can easily be found now by the Red Cross Society, not an advertisement. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you learned something new today. If you enjoyed my video, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell. More videos similar to this will be coming very shortly. Also, in case you have any doubts regarding this concept, please contact the email listed in the description. Bye!